I'm enthusiastic about poker and have been for years, for law students in particular. I was taught by my esteemed professor when I was here as a student that if I wanted to do something useful in my spare time, play bridge. And when asked to explain, he said it's a game that forces you to think from the perspective of the other players. You look from the other person's point of view. Bridge is fine. I like bridge. It's a great game. But I think poker is just so much more accessible and so much deeper in many ways, and less encumbered with a whole lot of stuff that you kind of have to come in with, like what the different systems are that you have to note and so forth. So I have for a long time now told my students, if you want to do something useful for your time, learn to play poker. Basically, it's because I think the essential advocacy skill is getting to a point where you can see a dispute from the other side, see what it looks like. And poker is just the best game for getting you into it. So many other features of it that add on, but that's the one I really like. So I love it as a game. I think it's a wonderful game for lawyers in particular. It's wonderful from the point of view of the law of poker. The law of poker is just about as interesting and varied and exists at every different level of the system, from the school to the city to the state to the federal to the international. It's all of a piece, and it's all completely overlaid with politics and the interplay of politics. It's so much in context right now. It just can't, I can't imagine a more interesting time to be involved legally with poker. So some of the things that I'm looking forward particularly are the opportunity to convene here a gathering of all the lawyers that have been working on proving poker as a game of skill, and have kind of law workshop that follows through on it. And, I'm interested in thinking about poker as a basis for moot court arguments. You all do Ames arguments, and we do upper round Ames. To somehow frame some of the arguments in poker terms seems very attractive to me. And I'm very interested, as Andrew says, in pursuing the declaratory judgment methodology of using the law to clarify what gambling actually is as a legal matter, and what's a game of skill, and what is the range of use for poker as an educational tool. And finally, I have a particular interest myself in distance education. So the online aspect of it is exceedingly interesting to me, and particularly interested in the potential of using poker as a tool not for just law education, but for education down at the level where kids start dropping out of school because it's boring and algebra is, they can't figure out why they're learning it. And somehow to connect with the game world that kids are in, coming up through, you know, World of Warcraft and Halo, and then actually moving them into a really challenging game that continues development of intellectual skills. That seems to me to be a great potential opportunity. Poker has driven the net in a real driver of the net. Poker is being filtered by the United States in essentially the same way that Myanmar is filtering politics on the net. They basically, the techniques for filtering the net are the same whether you're talking about porn or politics or poker. And the issues of internet freedom run right across the board. So my interests range across the spectrum with poker, and I'm eager to meet you all and get you all connected with as many things as I possibly can.
Just to clarify two things, guys. The first was, I know there was a little bit of alliteration there. This is the poker club. We're not interested in politics or porn, except for how it relates to poker. So please don't get confused on that. That can lead to some awkward moments. And Professor Nesson briefly mentioned proving poker is a game of skill. For those of you guys who don't know, most of the laws regulating poker in the United States center around state laws that say some variation of games in which chance predominates over skill are prohibited or are regulated, or some combination of that. It's a slight variation. So most of the litigation all centers around the question of proving whether or not poker is a game of skill, or at the very least, that poker is a game in which skill predominates over chance. And so that's sort of the legal question that we're always dealing with, which is kind of a fun one to play around with and see if you can make an argument that holds some weight and can succeed in court. So if you guys wanted to jump on any of the legal questions, that would be kind of the banner issue that we're dealing with. That's sort of dispositive.